Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another session of Easy Dharma for the New Normal. All right, so today we'll continue on another session of the Wheel of Sharp Weapons. And let me see, let me give you some time to come on for some of you guys. All right, I can see myself and okay, I'm going to put it to a low. Right. All right, good evening to you guys. Mr. Lam, welcome. Kelvin, you're back on. And Tsatsa, welcome again. And Miaoki, Florence, Kinho, and I'm sure more will come on, right? So today we'll be continuing on the verse 91. So altogether we have, let me see how many verses, 119 I think. Yeah, that's right, 119 verses. So today we'll be doing 91, and I think I might be able to cover slightly more than 10. Let me try. All right. So as before, as usual, before we continue, let me go on something. Usually I give a little, but this week I don't really have anything that I particularly want to talk about. So I will come up with something right now, as I always do. Pav, Karine, and other people, and other people, welcome. So, okay, what comes to mind actually is, some of the stories that Rinpoche talk about, and that comes to mind was this one particular one is the story in Naropa. Okay, why I want to talk about it is because the genre of teachings, of studying biographies, your Lama's biography, or like Atisha's biography, the Lamrim, in the beginning, the first chapter, before even the teachings begin, there's always a chapter about the Lama. And the idea about studying the Lama, a particular Lama or a guru, a pandit, or whatever it is for you to develop faith, for you to be inspired, for you to receive some sort of blessings. So it is important. So even for us, it is good for us to understand, like for us, since our guru is Rinpoche, we should know his biography as much as we can. I know some of us are not so inclined in dates and time, but more important is the events. Hence, his biography is very important, and on top of that is the meaning behind it. Okay, so why I want to talk about Naropa? Nothing, just because he came on my mind. He stood on my mind. If you have anything else would like me to talk about, just let me know. Right. So, Rinpoche, of all the many lamas and saints and gurus and pandits of India and Tibet, Naropa is one that stood out for Rinpoche, and something that I think when Rinpoche talks about, he relates very closely. Mainly because I think because Naropa is the epitome of devotion to a teacher, of a spiritual guide. And the trials and tribulations that he went through was something that Rinpoche felt very close, very intimate. And so we'll just talk a little bit about it. And I won't go into the whole story because it's quite, there are many, many stories, many trials, and each of them has a particular meaning and behind it. I won't go into it, not that I can remember all of them either, to be honest, but the main ones I would. So, interestingly, Naropa was born a prince, right? He was someone who is born in the lap of luxury. He was, he had attendants, he had servants, he had people attending to everything that he needed. And yet, he felt a sense of like, how do you say, renunciation, like there's more to life than this, than luxury, than being, being raised as a prince and to rule over the kingdom and of wealth and power and splendor. He felt immediately from a very young age, there's this sense of renunciation. The word is renunciation. If you're finding it in a strange word for you, then you should read up about it. In general, renunciation is someone who has a sense of who sees the faults of samsara, who perceives the faults of samsara, and who appreciates that this life is precious and that they want to practice. So people who have a sense of renunciation will not be overly attached to sensory pleasures. So in order for us to how do I say, let go of attachment, there is one attainment we should try to get close to. That is the easiest one of all the bigger attainments. We're talking of the three principal aspects of the path, which is renunciation, bodhicitta, and emptiness. So renunciation is something that all of us can develop. I'm not talking about intellectual, that we should all strive for enlightenment, and then the faults of samsara is this. It's not a technical term. It is an experiential thing. Experiencing means we experience it, we feel it from experience, from seeing, from experience. Like what brings about renunciation is when we go to funerals. Not that I'm telling you should go to a lot of funerals, but when there is a funeral. Long time ago, Rinpoche told me that when I passed through a funeral, and then I just told Rinpoche, I said it like, it's a bad thing, because, that's how I was raised, that, it's sui la, it's bad. So, but Rinpoche said, actually, it's a good thing, because but it will encourage that. It was something that reminds you of death. All right. So, okay, that's not my point of this whole thing. My point was I wanted to talk about Naropa a little bit. I wanted to talk about, actually, more importantly, I wanted to talk about how do you relate to some High Lama or someone like Naropa into your practice? Because I understand that how any of you feel, because that's how I felt, in a sense that when you read about Naropa and his great deeds of devoting to Tilopa, you know what Tilopa did? The moment they met, after years of searching, Tilopa beat up Naropa. He said, "No, I'm not your teacher. Go away. I'm not your teacher." How do you relate to that? And then on the other hand, Naropa was his devotion to his teacher never waned. When the moment he was beaten up, he was filled with devotion, of confidence in his teacher. So how do you do that? How do we relate to some figure that's totally different from us, in a sense of so much merits, to be able to see that, to perceive this guru who beats you up and still is your guru? If any of us get beaten up the way Naropa was, we will immediately run away. So how do you relate to a figure like that? I mean, because a lot of High Lamas have similar stories to a certain extent, or the way they live their whole lives in Dharma. And how do you relate to that? And we can't live. Some of us have our commitments, we need to survive. How do we live? How to relate? All right. So that's why I want to talk a little bit before we go into it. Okay. If you have any questions, throw it at me. Okay. Put it on the comments. Thank you. And so I don't have any comments. I think you guys are hearing and understanding what I'm saying. That's wonderful. So Naropa is basically epitome. It's like when you read it, it's like a myth. It's like a legend. It's like someone who is like you have never met before, except Rinpoche, like Tsem Rinpoche, who tells you his own life experience of the things he would go through and do for his teachers. That's the closest for us in real life Naropa, because Naropa lived in 1,000 years ago, I think, more than something like that, around that, 1,000 years ago. So that the time difference makes it all the more a wide chasm we don't really relate. So, with Naropa, it was more of how do you overcome your doubts? How do you make, when we first met Rinpoche, we first hear his teachings, we were so, wow, this teacher is the guru that I want for, I've always wanted to be his student, and I want to devote my whole life. And, that inspiration that comes to you when you hear Rinpoche's teachings, and how do you keep it alive, is equal to how Naropa goes through his trials and tribulations and and maintain his devotion. Okay, so I think the way we relate to such a story, such a figure like Naropa, of someone who is devotion, is to understand that we too have our own way, to affirm to ourselves that we have devotion. This is something I want to bring it up because I myself feel I don't have, until Rinpoche said once that actually you do. And I was like, I do? Really? I can't do a lot of things. I can't do like a Bing Hui. Bing Hui is Rinpoche's personal attendant. There's so many things, so many projects. And someone who assists Rinpoche, a lot of things I cannot do. And so Rinpoche didn't really actually explain to me that, you have devotion, but he just said it once. And I was like, wow, do I do? I do. So I'm going to tell you this, that you too have devotion that has led you to listening to me, right? Rather than, taking a nap, going to bed, or, watching your favorite serial. You too have devotion. And all of us have the first thing we have to do in relating to a figure like Naropa is to affirm that we too have devotion. Okay, we have a devotion in our own way. Some of us have to go through a lot of trials and tribulations, and in order to practice, in order to be in Kechara, come to Kechara, we have our obstacles, we have our challenges, and we still have kept it alive till now, So that is devotion. Yes, that is devotion. That no matter how bad it was in the past, we have kept this faith, our practice. Some of us have done sadhanas. I'm sure not everyone has been doing your sadhanas daily, but that is highly recommended that you do if you really want to take it to the next level. For some of us. For some of us who have been doing our sadhanas on a daily basis, the next level is what? Paying attention. Focus when you do your sadhanas. Your sadhana is not your time, your off time to think about what you're going to eat next, what you're going to do next, this is the next level. After you started doing regularly, but actually many of the times when we're doing our sadhanas, we take it as a downtime to think about something, to plan this, plan that, do this, do that. No. Focus on the prayers. And if you find if you have a problem focusing on the visualizations and all, never mind. You can do some simple breathing meditation beforehand, or even while doing it, to focus on the breath, focus on the mantra, focus on the sound, and block out everything else. Okay, that's how you would relate to a figure like Naropa, who has pure concentration. So what did he focus on? Naropa focused on his teacher as a living Buddha, nothing else. Okay, he doesn't see that he's actually an old man. He's actually a beggar. He doesn't see the dirty clothes. He doesn't see that, when the guru throws a BF, a scolding, a beating, whatever, that it is a wrathful thing, it's a hurtful thing. He sees it as a purification. So it's just a matter of focus. So how you relate to a figure like Naropa, that's how you do that. How you incorporate it into your practice, focus on your practice. When you do your practice, it's a time of focus. This is another level up. If you haven't reached this level, you're still not doing your sadhanas on a daily basis, then perhaps you want to graduate to that level or doing it on a daily basis. And I recommend for someone who is who find it a struggle to do it on a daily basis, please keep it short. Kiss, keep it simple. Stupid. Sorry. Keep it simple. Keep your sadhana simple, just Ganan Lagyama, perhaps 21 Miktimas, and then a praise of Dorje Shukden and Dorje Shukden's mantra, one mala. If you have a struggle so keep it simple, short, something that you can sustain us every single day, no matter how busy you are. Okay? And at times when you slip, it's all right, all of us slip. So, you forget one day, you just do double another day. Or you make it even shorter for just one day, because some of us may be skipping for maybe slip for about a whole week. I know some of you guys. If you slip for a whole week of sadhanas, shorten it, okay, for that period, but maintain it let's say 7 days. Okay, instead of doing 7 malas, maybe you do 3 malas to compensate. I'm saying this it's in preparation for you guys to have a sense of discipline to move your practice to the next level, to be the Naropa. To be the Naropa that you read about. Okay, you may not be, Rinpoche may not come, you have perfect view of Rinpoche, but you can have, when life throws you a, what do you call it, a curveball, and then you're not able to do your sadhana for that day. So what do? This is how you go about it. That's how you go about it, because there can only be benefit from this. There's no disbenefit. All right? There's no disbenefit of it. And the benefit goes long term. Nothing in your life will be of any meaning eventually, especially later on when you're older, for some of you who are younger, or some of you who are older, when you're even older, even more older. No, lah. Whatever your age is, you're always young. Don't worry about it. All right? So don't make age an issue for yourself, especially when you are in Dharma for many, many years. If age is a problem for you, if you're worried because you're getting old, then you need to reassess yourself. Reassess your understanding of the Dharma and how to go about it, how to come to an acceptance. Okay, this is life. We all age. We all have difficulty accepting change. That's for sure. Whether it is we like it or not. All right. So actually, I've kind of gone a little bit longer than I should, but yeah. So if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, let me see. I see some comments here. Thank you for sharing a different perspective to reaffirm us that we have devotion. Yes, Mr. Lam, thank you very much for your comment. All of us have devotion to a certain level. You have to realize that you have devotion and to build on your devotion. Okay, don't think Naropa is here, Rinpoche is here, I'll never be here. Think that you have a level of Rinpoche in you, but you just need to progress on. That's how we become better. And anything doesn't have to be Dharma or spiritual, anything at all. Why do you want to get better? You think, life is okay or everything is okay, because the reality is life is never okay. Things change, all right, all the time. We get older, so we need to learn more, do more. All right, so even in our practice, we need to do more. And do more doesn't mean we have to give up all your worldly pursuits. For most of you, it will be not possible at this time, I understand. But more importantly is what you can do, and you can do more. You can do much more, even with your worldly pursuits. All right? So let's get on to it. And wait, before Kelvin says, keep it sweet and simple. Yes, kiss. Sharon says, if we always feel sleepy or distracted during sadhana, is there a way to help us focus? Okay. Depending on your type of sleepiness and your type of distraction that you're talking about, if it's a mental type and it comes even when you're extremely alert, it means you have drip. spiritual pollution. So purification is very important for drip. Okay, how do you know you have drip? It's that when you are totally, when you have coffee and you are totally awake and you still find it sleepy when you listen to Dharma talks or when you're doing your sadhanas, you still find it sleepy, so you need to do the purification. What sort of purification? Vajrasattva. Actually, what is recommended for everybody, besides Vajrasattva formal practice, is actually cleaning your altar. Make sure your altar is spotless. Make sure your offerings are fresh on a daily basis. That's right, on a daily basis. Don't leave it overnight. Although it looks clean, you leave it overnight, 2 nights, 3 nights. No. Change it. All right? Change as in offerings, as in the water, as in the tea, as in, things like that. I know there's some types of offerings like fruits, they can leave it for like, some of them a few days. Yeah, it's fine. But make sure the table is clean, the offering item is clean, everything is clean. Okay, so the cleanliness of your shrine will be a form of practice for you. So when you clean, it should be done as a manner of practice. It's not just a chore. It should be done as a practice, meaning you recite mantras when you clean. What kind of mantras you can do? There's many mantras. You can do Vajrasattva, you can do Dupong, Drimapong, from the Lamrim, and stuff like that. All right, so purification is very important if it's drip. If it's not drip, just have coffee, have Coke, or take a nap. Yes, Pastor Neral?
Above he said, if you feel sleepy when you're doing something, to pause for a minute and look up. I don't know how.
Okay.
Reduce the sleepiness. Also, your visualization, move it higher. So it should start from eye level. The bottom should be eye level. So you should be there. If it goes below that, you will sleep.
Oh, I didn't know it's from Hong Kong. I read that before. Okay, let me repeat what Pastor Neral said. He's telling me from the background is that if you feel sleepy during practice, what happened is he said to pause and look up. Okay, actually it makes sense because when you're sleepy, your eyelids are going down. So you cannot, once it reaches a certain level, you cannot control it, falls. It's a natural reaction of our eyelids, I guess. So what happens? You look up, all right? One is look up and also move your visualizations upwards. So don't close your eyes. I don't know, some of you may close your eyes during your sadhana, your practices. Don't do that. Actually, even meditation, you're not supposed to close it. You should keep it at a certain level, not totally open, not totally closed, at a certain level where you look down into, if you have a big nose, look at your nose, but I don't have a big nose, so I can't see my nose. So just about feet away. This is just actually a posture for meditation. And what's the last one again? The visualization, lower?
The lowest part of the visualization should always start at eye level.
Okay.
For most things.
So bring the visualization higher, right? Yeah. All right, so, okay. Okay, I see. Oh, Choja, hello, Tashi Dele. Sometime I miss to do my sadhana because rushing to do something. It's all right. It's all right. Just repair your sadhana commitment by redoing it. If it's one time, do it double, do it triple, whatever it is, to repair your commitment. Because I don't know, I think you may have initiation Choja, so it's different. So it's important that you have to do that. For people who have initiations, your sadhana is not something that when you forget, it remains forgotten. It is a broken commitment. So the karma is heavy. So you have to repair the commitment. You have to do purification practices. If it's higher tantric, there's specific rituals to do that. All right. Self-initiations. So let's get on to the actual topic of the day, which is the wheel of sharp weapons. So today will be from verse 91 onwards. All right. Verse 91. All the things we should do, we do not do even once, for improper behavior takes up all our time. Trample him, dance on the head of this treacherous concept of selfish concern, tear out the heart of this self-centered butcher who slaughters our chance to gain final release. Isn't that just like a general description of most of us when you When we don't want to do something, we find it very difficult to do it, but we can do so much other things. Anything else, it's so much easier to do than what we're supposed to do, but we don't want to do. That's what it is. So what happens is when I think for people, it's not so much as we cannot do it, we want to do other things. It's more like when we do something, let's say something Dharma, something virtuous, we do it once and we feel, oh, it's so nice, it feels so good, we feel so holy, we feel so, like there's a halo on our heads, we feel so good, it feels good to do something good, but then when we want to follow up to do it more of that, we have a lot of distraction, we have a lot of resistance. We have our dog ate our homework lah. We forgot to eat. We want to go to the toilet. We got a migraine. We fall sick. We have our commitments. We don't feel like doing it again. We don't like what this person said to me. We don't like how things are run in an organization. We have a lot of excuses. And then you know what? We forget the feeling. Over time, we forget the feeling. We forget that it's good for us. We forget that, that it's Dharma. That the real reason why we did it in the first place, we forget. So more importantly is to relive that feeling, to remember the feeling, not relive. Remember the feeling. When you relive is when you do it again. We haven't done it again yet. Maybe perhaps in a long time. Like for example, some of us, it could be a sadhana, it could be coming to KFR, it could be doing a retreat. Retreat will be, I'm sure there's a lot of resistance for a lot of people if you have done one in the first place. If you have never done a retreat, all right, it is, how would I put it? It is a feeling that is, different people have different experiences, of course. But this is how I would describe it. It is difficult in a sense that initially when it's nice, it feels like a getaway, like you're going on a holiday. It feels like that initially, meaning all you have to do is do your practice, do the prayers, do the offerings. But when you sit down and try to focus, we have a lot of things come in our mind. All right, there's a lot of things, and then that is the beginning. Then when we reach the midpoint of the retreat, it could be a 1-week retreat, it could be a 3-day retreat. We feel like, we feel that this thing settled down already. We start to feel good. Then it ends, and then when it ends, you remember this good feeling. But then after that, the good feeling will stay for a while. Then you say, oh, I want to do a retreat again. But we have a lot of distractions. Each time we plan for it, it most likely never come, or a lot of distractions come about. All right? So we have to fight that in order to do it again. Same thing with Dharma. Any Dharma related work, but especially for retreat, because why? Because retreats, the Dharma work of retreat is you are attacking the mind directly. Okay, the cause of all our problems is the mind, and that's what you are basically targeting. So when you target that, all your karmas come up, the distractions, all that. Okay, I have some comments. Hello, Bradley. Good evening. Jacinta, how about mantra pat? Will that chase away drip? Drip is spirit, right? Thank you, Pastor. Okay, Jacinta, pat is not a mantra. It's a syllable of a mantra. I don't know of any mantra just with the syllable pat. Pat is usually, there is a meaning to it. It is usually form a part of a Rafu mantra, usually of subjugating. But on its own, I don't recall of it being any of any mantra. So usually for drip, it's not so much as a mantra, it's purification practices. All right, it could be any mantra for purification. All right, so not specifically pat alone. If it is a mantra, because as far as I remember, it's not a mantra.
If highest yoga tantra self-generated deity, you can use that by itself,
Oh, by itself.
but not on our level.
Oh, for Pastor Nero said that pat is used in higher tantric practices for self-initiation.
When you self-generate as the deity.
Or when you generate as a deity. So it's some kind of practice, right? Purification practice, right? Yeah, for high tantric initiation. So at our level, we don't use it. All right, just use the normal one. Don't go too advanced, Jacinta. All right. Anything else? I don't see anything else. All right, let's carry on. We were on verse 91, verse 92. Almighty destroyer of selfishness demons, with body of wisdom unchained from all bonds, Yamataka, come brandish your skull-headed bludgeon of egoless wisdom of voidness and bliss. Without any misgivings now, wield your fierce weapon, and roughly swing it 3 times round your head. Okay, the 3 times has a little what do you call this? Note to it. So 3 times has a meaning. Let me read out the meaning in the footnote. All right. We request, this is the meaning of 3 times. We request Yamataka to swing 3 times round his head. His skill-headed bludgeon representing both wisdom of egolessness, common in both the perfection and tantra vehicles, as well as non-dual wisdom of whiteness and bliss. The 3 times he swings the bludgeon destroys ego grasping. Number 2, of self-cherishing attitude. Number 3, our defiled bodies of delusion produced by these 2 types of ignorance. Okay, so it's very simple. There's swing 3 times, right, to hit, right? We request Yamataka. The 3 represents our self-grasping. Our grasping to the self-cherishing I. All right? Then number 2 is self-generate, what do you call it? Self-cherishing mind. Number 1 is self-grasping, grasping on the concept of an I, all right, that doesn't exist. Number 2 is self-cherishing. Because of your grasping to the concept of I, we cherish ourselves because we think we exist, and we exist in such a way that in a wrong way, we exist in a wrong way. We think wrongly, so we think that it exists, so it needs to be protected. It needs to be stroked. Your ego needs to be stroked. It needs to be pleased. It needs to be pleasure. It needs a lot of things, and it's highly insecure all the time. Ego is, when you know it's an ego, when it doesn't exist, is because it's highly insecure. You always need to reassure it. How do we reassure it? We reassure it in a very, very bad way. By putting other people down, by being jealous, by being angry, by being, by doing all sorts of things. Those that I mentioned is the 3rd one. Your jealousy, your anger, your, all the delusions comes the 3rd. So that's the 3 times that Yamataka swings. It's requesting Yamataka, please remove everything. My self-cherishing mind, my self-grasping mind, the self-grasping first, of course, my self-cherishing, and then all my delusions that comes from this too. Okay, so 3 times. Okay, I have a comment from Alex Cheng. Speaking of Yamataka, AFAIK. It's an acronym, is it, or for something? I understand that we cannot practice if non-initiated, but what about just reading on the practice out of curiosity but not practicing? Alex, you can read about the deity itself, no problem. Not the meditations, not the sadhana, not the explanations of the sadhana. You can perhaps read about what the practice is about. There's a lot online. You can read about who Yamataka is the iconographic meaning. But when it comes to the sadhana itself, it's recommended you do not read it. or the meditations or anything about the practices of Yamataka. All right, so there are certain texts, and it tells you, when it's, especially if it's a book, it will tell you at the beginning of the book. It tells you whether you can read it. Usually, it always says, if it's a good one, it always tells you at the beginning for initiates only. So if you have no initiation, you don't read it. Usually, it talks about the meditations and the practices, the visualizations, that if you do not have the initiation, you cannot read. All right. So if you're just talking like this text, I mean, it makes a lot of requests to Yamataka. Is no problem reading. Oh, AFAIK is as far as I know. Thank you very much. That's something new to me. All right, so I've explained a little bit about verse 92, especially about the 3 times. Verse number 93. Excuse me. With all our fierceness, come smash this foul enemy. Burst ego concepts with your wisdom's great might. With your boundless compassion, protect us from suffering, the miseries caused by our self-centered actions. Destroy our self-cherishing once and for all. Okay, that's verse number 93. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If you have a question about it, let me know. I'll go on to the next one, all right? Verse 94. With all the sufferings that others experience, smother completely our selfish concern. The sufferings of others arise from 5 poisons. Thus, whichever delusions afflicts other beings, take it to smother delusions of self. This is interesting. This is how it's worded. Okay, let's address what was it? The 5. Did I read it wrongly? Where's the 5 then? Oh yeah, the 5 poisons. Okay, the 5 poisons. This book is interesting because usually you hear the 3 poisons, and this one has 5 poisons. So it's more, I guess, complete. We have, what are the 5 poisons? We have the 3 basic ones, which is ignorance, hatred, and desire. Okay, ignorance, hatred, desire. Then there is jealousy and pride. Okay, so this book addresses maybe it's an older a collective explanation, because maybe during Dhammarakshita's time, this master was from a different, even during Atisha's time. All right, so maybe they have a different classification, because later on in the Tibetan, because our teachings, especially from our tradition, which is the Golok school, tend to classify the delusions for its basic 3, which is ignorance, hatred, and desire. All right, but it has 2 extras in this, which is jealousy and pride. Okay, because this is I read before, so I know. So generally, I've not read much in the sense of this classification of 5, but they all come from the basic same source, which is ignorance. All right, so the ignorance, what is ignorance, is what we addressed earlier. The ignorance comes from our false sense of identity. Okay, if you don't understand what that means, is that the false sense of I is like this, is that all of us have an idea, a picture in our mind of what we are, who we are. All right, and most of the time, our mental picture of ourselves is based on what? Is based on our previous experiences, our conditioning, from birth, when we were brought up. And some of the conditionings come naturally from us, from previous lives, meaning we have done it before. So there's a sense of selfishness because of this sense of I. Okay, this sense of I is very strong in us because we have been we've been holding onto this concept for many, many lifetimes, incredible amount of lifetimes. So it's very, very strong, and it seems almost natural part of us, but according to the Buddha, it's not natural. Being selfish is not natural. Being selfless is natural. All right? Because people think otherwise these days. We think that, being selfish, thinking about ourselves is natural. It is the way it should be. And this is what society tells us. It is what culture is not. According to the Buddha, it's not. And Sam Rinpoche gives a very excellent way to how to give you what do you call it? A way to see that it's not. What is that? It's when you see everybody in the world, everybody has someone they care about. Caring is being selfless. Love is selfless. It is not selfish. All right? I know there is love that is selfish, but real love, everybody accepts this definition and feels this towards this definition. Real love is selfless. It's not about you. It's about the person that you care about. All right? You think about this person, so you move out of yourself. You think about the person. All right? So that is real. That's how you can assess that selflessness is natural. Selfishness is not, because there's not, in this world, there's a lot of people who hate people, okay? But everybody, there's no such thing, as someone who hates everybody. Their mother they hate, their father they hate, their relative they hate, the whole world they hate. There's nobody. I know there's a lot of people who hate the world, but they still care about one person or another, And why they hate the whole world is probably because that person they care about so much hurt them. Okay, so they do care. Still, they do care about someone else, not themselves. So that's a proof that selfishness is not natural. This is something you need to think about and assess. And I encourage you guys to think about my definition that is not from of selfishness, whether it is, which is natural, and if you have any, you can debate, no problem. And if you don't agree with what I'm saying, I encourage that because it helps me, it helps you. Okay, let's go on to the. Okay, let me go on about it, read a bit again, because it's a bit deep, this one. With all the sufferings of the others experience, smother completely our selfish concern. The sufferings of others arise from 5 poisons. Thus, whichever delusions afflict other beings, take it to smother delusions of self. It's interesting how it's worded. It's worded in such a way of others, their suffering, and myself. So when I think of others, it's telling Yamataka to firstly with all the sufferings that people, other beings, not mine, other experience, but destroy my selfishness. So many people suffer the things. Don't destroy my sufferings, destroy theirs, destroy my selfishness to think of their suffering. It's interesting how it's worded. The sufferings of others arise from the 5 poisons. Their suffering arise from the 5 poisons. Thus, whichever delusions afflict other beings, take it to smother delusions of self. So, instead of contemplating about my problem, they contemplate other beings' problems, other beings' delusions, and use that, Yamataka, use that to smother their cause, which is that I also have. So that's what it's trying to say. So it's a little bit deep, so I have to read it again to talk about it. All right. So anything? No. Okay, I think pretty much that's about it. We go to the next one. Verse 95. Though we have not a doubt, but we recognize fully the cause and the root of mistakes we all make. If there is still left a part of our minds that would tend to support this delusion of self that we have, then destroy the firm hold of this part of our minds that against our true wishes makes fools of us still. So, what it's trying to say, after this great master, this great guru, Dhammarshita, has given you so many examples. I mean, so far it's 90 over 90 over examples, 80 over, I think give and take maybe 70, 60, 70, there's some, it's just praises to Yamataka. 60, 70 different aspects of the self-cherishing mind, the self-grasping mind. What is the self-cherishing, what's the self-grasping, and how it manifests. He gives you all the various scenarios that make you suffer, how you make yourself suffer. And if until now, he's saying, this Lama is saying, you still have, you must be convinced by now. All these examples, shows you that this selfish mind brings you suffering. It's this mind, is this attitude. This attitude arises from the mind. All right? So this attitude arises from that mind, and it makes you suffer and gives you all the problems. And if you still have no doubt, if you still have some more doubt, then please, Yamataka, you pray to Yamataka, please remove this doubt. Okay, that's what it's trying to say. So it's as simple as that. I think at this point, you probably still have a lot of doubts. Or perhaps you don't even have a full image. I don't know if you've been following me for all these sessions about the real sharp weapons. But if you have been following, because I've been bringing you on a kind of like a journey of all the definitions about what bodhicitta is, renunciation, how to develop bodhicitta in a very, very simple language, simple explanations. I didn't go so much into the technical terms because I did read about it. It can be quite technical, and there are many stages towards it. And equanimity and all that. How do we put it in a simple practice? The practice of giving and taking, Tonglen. I spoke about that, and it's all covered in this. And so my point in saying all this is that it's quite deep. The teachings, the meaning of the teachings is quite deep. When you look at it, everybody will say, oh, it's karma lah, you do like that, you get like that lah. But it's more than that. It's pointing to your mind. It's pointing to the actual direct cause in the mind. And that mind needs to be purified. So there are more teachings to get you to there, because before that, because there is still a bridge to be, from the karma, from the actions, and the attitude and actions, there needs to be a bridge still. That probably will cover in other sets of teachings lah. All right. So let's carry on. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay. So number 90. This one was 95, right? Yes, 95. So I go to number 96. Or as all that is wrong can be traced to one source. Our concern for ourselves, whom we cherish the most, we must meditate now on the kindness of others, accepting the suffering that they never wish for. We must dedicate fully all our virtues to all. So this is Tonglen. This is giving and taking. Tonglen is a practice of giving and taking. The word Tonglen literally means giving and taking. So it is basically what it's about. It is the practice of generating bodhicitta, which is all your merits, all your happiness, everything, by visualization, you give to others. How do you do that? Combine it with the breath. The practice of Tonglen is supposed to be done according to the breath. Okay, when you breathe in and you breathe out, right? When you breathe in first the suffering. All the beings of all the 6 realms, you just visualize or every single being in this universe. Everything that is good, everything that is bad, their bad karma, their delusions, their mental afflictions, their problems, the suffering they go through, the illness they go through, the accidents they go through, every possible bad thing that could ever happen to any being, of the 6 realms, comes to you in a form of smoke. It's black in color, so representing the negativities. So when it comes to you, you breathe in, and it goes to your heart. And your heart, there's a seed. That's the description, is a seed in your heart that represents your self-grasping, self-cherishing mind. So that smoke will destroy that seed by visual you. It's just an imagination right now. At this point, it's just an imagination. So when it breathes in, it goes in and it destroys the seed. That's when you breathe in, and then you breathe out. All your merits, all your good karma, all the good things that happen to you in all your good fortune, your 4D, your house, boyfriend, your wife, your husband, your wife, your good friends, your family, your neighborhood, your house, your property, your branded handbags, your branded cars, everything, your clothes given out, your good health, your good fortune, everything given out in the form of white light this time. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong. And it is given out to all beings. Okay? So it's giving, it's taking and giving. You take in first and you give. So that practice is supposed to generate a type of mind. It's supposed to change your mindset from a selfish person, a insular person, a person who only thinks of yourself, to someone who is outgoing, who is giving, who revels in being generous, who revels in being kind, compassionate. It is meant to change that mind, to become like that. All right? It is not something that will be actualized in real life, in a sense that you will take in all the disease and you become very ill. You don't worry, you will not. And if all of us have karma to be ill, and if you do become ill, it is a point of practice, it is said. And that's a wonderful time to do Tonglen, actually, to accept, because you are actually ill. So when you're ill, you accept all the illnesses of the whole world. So you purify a lot. You purify much more if you do this visualization than if you just sick for no reason. There's not no reason, for just being sick. Okay, everybody understand what this is about? The practice of giving and taking, all right? Okay, I am paused in mid-sentence on... Okay, now we go to verse 97. Thus, accepting ourselves all deluded, non-virtuous actions that others have done in the past, in the present and future, with mind, speech, and body, may delusions of others as well as our own be the favored conditions to gain our enlightenment, just as the peacocks eat poison and thrive. This is an interesting verse, all right? This verse talks about in Buddhism, first comes with any practice is acceptance. Okay, acceptance of who you are, what you are, your level, before you practice. So you have to accept your actions first. You have to accept your mental attitude. If you don't accept, you will not be able to practice at all. If you do not accept that you are a lazy person, an ignorant person, a selfish person, a difficult person, an attached person, a person with a lot of attachments, a person who has a lot of... all your faults are, basically. Because most of the time we have difficulty recognizing, because why we don't recognize is not that we don't see. We don't recognize our faults because we don't accept it. We believe that it is not as bad as people say it is, or we believe that we have a totally different perspective of how things is. So it's very important that we come to an acceptance. All right. Why do I say that? Is because what it says here, thus accepting ourselves all deluded non-virtuous actions that others have done in the past. So we have to accept, actually it's talking about others, but first we accept ours, our delusions, our problems first. Then we start practicing, all right? In the present and future, with mind, speech, and body, may delusions of others as well as our own be the favored conditions to gain our enlightenment. So this one, because it's a Mahayana text, we project out. So first we have to recognize our own faults, which is our selfishness, our attachment. All of us, especially, I think most of our issues come from, in fact, all our issues come from attachment, right? It could be your anger, jealousy, your attachment mainly to physical things. Easiest to get rid of will be physical things, to people, to situations, to being right, to looking good. We are very attached to looking good. Nobody can can embarrass you. When you're embarrassed, you totally flip. We get angry. Okay, and we're angry because we're insecure. When people, especially when people say things that are, the sad thing about it is that when people say something that is real, instead of recognizing that it's real and admitting it, we get angry. First emotion comes to us is anger. First thing is anger, so we lash out. Some of us are quick enough, we control ourselves quickly. But actually, first thing is we lash out first because it's the truth. That's the thing. All right. So this one is projected out in a sense, all the problems of everybody, the delusions, recognize it first. All right. Then, and they recognize that it's from their delusions. Then comes their actions. Okay, which is non-virtuous. Acting out of anger, jealousy, hatred, okay, forms many types of action, attachment, from hoarding money, from being very loving money, material things, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. We do a lot of actions. People do a lot of actions. Recognize those qualities in us. In the present future, with mind, speech, and why mind? Why? Okay, this is said mind, speech, and body. Like usually, we always put in the order of body, speech, and mind, because we put it in the order of body, speech, and mind simply because it's the order of how easy it is to transform. The body is the easiest. Your physical actions is the easiest to change, to correct. That's why in the 50 verses, most of it is bodily actions. Okay, it tells you, oh, you cannot step on the guru's shadow, you cannot do this, you cannot say this, you cannot, crack your knuckles, wring your hands, you cannot, fall asleep, all that. It's all your bodily actions. All right, so it's awareness. And because it's the easiest in the scheme of things, it's the easiest. Okay, if you cannot do that, how are you going to purify your karma, which is in your mind? Because it's the order of body, speech, mind. Your mind is the hardest. The hardest to change, hardest to transform, and everything comes from the mind. Your physical actions, the things that you say comes from how you think. So, body, speech, and mind. All right? From body, speech, and mind comes all that you say, all that you do, all that you think. All right? And that comes from what? It comes from your concept of who you are. I am Pastor David. I'm only supposed to say the only correct things. If anybody says something that makes me look bad, makes me look stupid, makes me look, not a pastor, then I get upset. Okay, so now I'm projecting on myself for you. So we act like that all the time. We have all preconceived notions. Okay, we always have this idea of how we are, how things should be, and when things are upset, and always there'll be some monkey, some funny person will come about and say something, do something that upset us. That's life. Okay, so when that happens, we have to control ourselves. And how our ability to control our emotions when things go wrong reflects your practice. Your level of patience, your level of when suddenly something comes around, suddenly someone tells you you are a liar, how do we react? Or you steal, or you cheat. Someone comes out and accuses you of something. Or your favorite person is disappointed you very badly, turns out to be your greatest enemy, turns out to be someone who cheated you, turns out to be someone who let you down, there's so many scenarios that can come up. I cannot go on telling you whatever scenario because all of us will experience it anytime, it comes anytime, and how do we react to those situations reflect our practice. All right? And there's some things that we cannot avoid. Actually, most things we cannot avoid. So more importantly, instead of avoiding making sure everything is perfect in the world, which is not possible, instead of making sure everybody is, or some people not making sure everybody is perfect, rather avoid everybody, avoid all difficult situations, difficult people, difficult objects that will make you suffer or something break down. Make sure everything is will last forever. It's impossible. So instead of doing something that's not possible, which is shunning away. Some people do that. They shut out the whole world. They become very cold. Okay, instead of doing that, which is impossible, because you can shut off the world, but you cannot shut the world from yourself. You can't. You cannot shut yourself out from yourself. And that's a psychological thing. You cannot do that, and that's why you become actually more unhappy when you shut the world. Although the original purpose is so that you avoid people who disappoint you, you cannot. That doesn't work. So instead of shutting out the world, is to address your mind, your expectation of how the world should be. All right. So I hope I'm making any sense to you guys. And so instead of shutting out the world, you wear sandals. Okay, how does that relate? Okay, it's actually, I'm quoting Shantideva. Shantideva said that instead of walking around the world, hurting your feet with small stones and pebbles, instead of sweeping the whole world, shutting out the whole world means sweeping the whole world. Okay, Shantideva said instead of sweeping the entire whole world, which is not possible, okay, you wear sandals to protect your feet. So instead of shutting out the whole world from nasty people, which you don't know, you protect yourself by controlling your expectations, by understanding people and controlling your expectations, by learning the Dharma, by learning about attachment and overcoming your attachment, especially overcoming attachment, because we have very strong attachment to people and how they should be. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you can do with when you understand the Buddha's teachings to address our issues with people, with circumstances and things. So this book is also a wonderful way to view of how our mind operates and how we deal with it. All right. So okay, let's get on. Yeah. Okay, there's now one more thing. The last line on the verse says, just as the peacocks eat poison and thrive. So what happens is, usually in Dharma, what we do is, instead of avoiding all delusions, obstacles, and problems, we face it. We face it and change something that's negative into something that's positive. How do you change delusion, which is inherently negative? Delusions can be changed into, can be transformed. Even delusions, even your jealousy, your attachment. So let's not go on one. If you learn more Dharma, you find various ways, especially in the practice of Tantra and higher practices, higher meditations. You can do it directly with delusion, but in a practical way, you address your the reasons of why you're attached. The reasons. Let's think of attachments for example. Okay, so for example, let's say your attachment is to dress up. Okay, so you dress up to go for parties and all that. Okay, a simple way to transform it to become something virtuous is that you dress up to mingle with people, to bring them to the Dharma. There's one way of addressing it. To change, you don't change the way you do it, you change your motivation, your intent. Okay, but there's some things that inherently cannot be changed. For example, like killing. For example, like killing, at the moment I can only think of killing, but there are others that are inherently negative. You cannot change it at this point. Not recommended. It is possible to have a high motivation for killing. I know some of you smart ones, smarty pants, will tell me, hey, the Buddha killed, Yeah, but you're not the Buddha. You don't have a high motivation at this point. Okay, so there's killing, no matter what, is inherently negative. So don't go to that level. Or don't say, oh, the Mahasiddhas sleep around, so I also can sleep around, I am a Mahasiddha. You don't have that motivation. You don't bring them to the Dharma. You're not able to bring them to the Dharma by sleeping with people. Okay, like the way Mahasiddhas do. And they've already achieved no self. Okay, so you have not achieved no self yet. Don't even attempt to use that as a motivation to bring people to Dharma. All right? So, okay, let's carry on. That was just as peacocks eat poison and thrive. Verse 98. As crows may be cured after swallowing poison by a powerful antidote given in time, let's direct to all others our virtuous merit, that this may replenish their chances for freedom. May all sentient beings reach Buddhahood soon. It's quite self-explanatory, I think. Next verse 99. To the time when all motherly beings and I gain the perfect conditions for us to be Buddhas, through the force of our actions may cause us to wander through various realms in the 6 rebirth states. May we always be able to help one another, to keep our aim fixed on enlightenment's shore. Okay, that's verse 99. 6 rebirth states. For those of you who do not know what it is, 6 realms of samsara. This is what the Buddha said. The world, the cosmos that we live in consists of 6 states of rebirth. They're called 6 states of rebirth, meaning it's not a physical location, not physical at all. It is a mental location. I mean, it is also physical. Sorry, I have to correct myself. It's physical and mental. Okay, that you can take rebirth in. So it's not not that it's not physical. It's not a geographical location. It's not it's in the sky or under the ground. Although it is described in the text, it is described in the text to be the lower realms under the ground, as in the lowest realm, hell, and then the higher beings in the sky. It is some of them are a different plane of existence altogether. So what happens is 6 realms is what is we are on the human realm. So we have it is said in the Lamrim, very simple and a very quick definition of human is we can think. I hope you can think too. So we can think. So we are in the human realm. We can think, and we have both an equal amount of leisure, pleasure, and pain and suffering. Okay, equal amount. Quite equally balanced most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. Okay, if you go down lower, it's the animal realm that everybody is familiar with the animals. So what kind of sufferings do they have? What kind of disadvantages that they have is that they don't have intelligence, at least not to the level of human being. Okay, of a fully grown human being. Okay, who has no problems with their faculties. So they don't have intelligence. So they cannot think. They cannot practice the Dharma, unfortunately. For animals, I'm not talking of an animal who goes circumambulating mindlessly around a stupa. That's different. That is not practicing the Dharma. That is just by coincidence and the kindness of people who built the stupa and, to create the circumstances. They are not actually practicing. Real practice of the Dharma is when you understand the Dharma and transform. That is real practice. It's not when you go around the stupa or you teach a parrot to recite a mantra and that's practicing the Dharma. That's not practicing the Dharma. All right? So animals, unfortunately, due to the karma, cannot practice the Dharma. So that should be ample motivation for you guys never to wish to be born as animals. Because some of you, I know I've heard people say, I wish I was Rinpoche's dog, in my next life. You do not want to do that. You cannot practice the Dharma as a dog. Period. You can get a lot of blessings if you're lucky to be Rinpoche's dog. Blessing does not equal practice. It does not. Okay? So animals cannot practice the Dharma. They don't have intelligence to practice the Dharma. And they cannot speak. They have no known language that is as equal to a human type of speech. All right, so they cannot speak. They cannot express how they feel. as much. They can do a lot of actions, maybe some sounds they can make to express, but not to the level of a human being. All right? So they cannot express, and they are plagued by what? Instinct. So they want to mate, they mate. They want to eat, they eat. So they will kill to eat. Some animals kill to eat. So they collect more negative karma. So that's animals. Then one level down is below that is when it goes down means what? Not geographical location, but level of suffering. Okay, humans suffering, animals suffering. So it goes down. Okay, heavier and heavier suffering. All 6 realms have suffering. All 6 realms. It's just the type of suffering is different. So obvious suffering is the 3 lower realms, which is animal, spirit. Spirit is, in general, it is a lot of attachment to miserliness. It's said in the text is miserliness, very selfish, very miserliness, very miserly. So very stingy, cannot let go about some things. Okay, so they are very attached as well. Heavy attachment perhaps to a location, to a person. Some of them are very angry, some are very lonely, all of them are. And their level of attachment, miserliness is so strong that it's like a prison in their mind. So that's why they tend to be haunted in a particular place. They tend to stick to one place and do not go far. But some will do wander, but their minds are fixated on something all the time, and their fixation is extremely strong. It's very strong to a point where they're very lonely, to the point where a lot of them are very angry, and the emotions are very extremely strong in terms of loneliness, in terms of miserliness, in terms of many of them anger. Okay, very strong emotions that is not normal. They do have intelligence. Spirits do have a level of intelligence, but because their suffering is so strong, they're unable to practice the Dharma. Too strong already. Too overwhelming to practice the Dharma. They can receive some kind of blessings. They have the intelligence to practice, but their suffering is too strong already. All right? So, and they live for a very long time. Okay, that's for spirit. Then for one level down, some more is the hell beings. This one is we cannot see with eyes, but there is a plane of existence where it's total suffering. In the Lamrim, there's cold hells, hot hells, and different ways of being tortured in the hells, and based on their karma. So it is pretty much similar to the other Judeo-Christian religions in the sense of what the hell is like. But the only difference between the Judeo-Christian and the Buddhist hell is that Buddhist hell is based on karma. So it is not eternal. It's not eternal damnation. The Christian hell is eternal. Once you go there, you cannot escape. Okay, hell in the Buddhist world can exhaust, but it takes a long time, a long time, and then you'll be reborn again. Okay, so but when you reborn, the seeds that led you to hell will still be there, unfortunately. So there are some beings when they're reborn again, they have imprints, imprints from previous lives that led them to hell. They still have it, like to kill, to steal, and all that. So even going through all that, you think that you go through all that suffering, you'll be wiped clean, your mind? No. Unfortunately, no, because the imprints were the amount of karma was so great that it brought you there to that rebirth. What is purified is just the karma, but there is another level which is imprints will still be there, so you do not want to go there. All right, so those are the three lower realms. The 3 higher realms, which I already mentioned, the human realm, which is equal opportunity for everyone. And actually, in reality, the general circumstances is equal, but everybody is different. Everybody's karma is different. So some people are born in places where it's impossible to practice the Dharma. Some people are born in places where it's like hell. Some people are born in places it's like heaven. Too distracted. So, okay, let's go higher, which is the demigods and god realms. Those are When you go higher, it is not closer to Buddhahood. Contrary to that, it is actually more pleasure, more sensory pleasure, more attachment equals attachment. Because when you're not enlightened, when you have not overcome your sense of self, you tend to have a lot of attachment. So when you have sensory pleasures, instead of it making you a nice person, a better person, it does not necessarily make you a better person, a nicer person. So what happens is it becomes a distraction. It makes you only engage in this attachment, and you forget about Dharma practice. So the Buddha has actually gone to the heavenly realms, the God realms, and teach there. So he gave specific teachings for the divinities of that realm to encourage them to overcome their attachment, but their attachment is extremely, extremely strong. So they still are there. Some of them are still there, and they will enjoy themselves for a long time. Okay, that's the nice bit. The not nice bit is when they are dying, because they have karma still. They have not overcome, their ego and all. They have not become enlightened. They're not a Buddha. So when they die, what happens is they will take a negative rebirth, because they have taken the amount of karma to sustain that kind of rebirth is so great. They will suffer tremendously. In fact, they said in the Lam it will go down to the lower realms. And the reason is because the amount of good karma to sustain that rebirth is so great. That's why it goes there. So because two things, the karma to sustain. Why is it burning out so much karma? Is because the huge attachments. When you enjoy a lot of sensory pleasure and you do not take steps to curb your attachment, right, you consume a lot of good karma. Tremendous amount of good. This is what Rinpoche told me before. The level of how much good karma you take up is how attached you are. And we all know we're extremely attached. And enjoying sensory pleasure instead, why it's bad? It's inherently it's not bad, to have good fun and all that, It is that your attachment, it feeds on your attachment, and the stronger your attachment, the more good karma that it consumes to sustain it. Everything needs to be sustained by something. It's no free lunch. As simple as it is, no free lunch. All right? Everything good that you experience is exhausting one good karma for you. Especially if you are attached, and all of us are attached. All right? That's why it can explain why extremely wealthy people, extremely well-to-do people, famous people are extremely unhappy. They have all the external causes of happiness, wealth, power, fame, but internally they are difficult. They're very, very unhappy, extremely unhappy. If you close the doors and you speak to them one-to-one, they will pour out all the problems. And when you look at the problems, like, why so much problems? Actually, it's not the whatever causes they say, it's because their attachments are extremely strong, extremely. Okay, that explains psychologically why. I'm going to give you an example. Just a very worldly example, because we don't talk about the gods in the upper realms, which you cannot see for most of us. We talk of the gods of our realm, human realm. The famous people, the celebrities, the royalties. Why are they so unhappy with their lives when they have everything? They are extremely unhappy. And it's because they have not addressed the issue of attachment. All right. So I don't think anybody have anything to add. You have anything to add? No, I don't think you have anything to add to what I've said. Or any questions? No, any questions? But anyway, it was nice, and too bad I didn't manage to. Where was I? Verse 99. Okay, I read one more verse. Okay, verse 100. Then, for even the sake of but one sentient being, may we gladly take birth in the three lower states, with enlightened conduct that never grows weak. May we lead all beings in miserable rebirths out of their sufferings and causes for pain. Okay, this is the Mahayana attitude. Okay, when we think about going to the lower, when we hear about their suffering, we already, in our mind, we feel scared already. We are scared. We don't want to take rebirth in hell. Nobody wants pain. Nobody wants suffering. Nobody wants to be poor. Nobody wants to be lonely. Nobody wants to feel unhappy, physically unhappy, mentally unhappy, whatever it is. All right. But why do we want to take up this attitude of, I have to go there to personally save everybody? We can't even save ourselves. That's right, because we cannot save ourselves, we have to generate that attitude. It is just a mental attitude that we have to take up. So how do we put it in practical terms? Okay, this is how Rinpoche does it. We cannot save the whole world, but we can save the people around us. We can do our best to help them, address people who are near us, help the people who are near us. When we go out, this is what Rinpoche does. When he goes out on the street, he cannot save the animals, the entire world's animals. He can feed the dog on the street. He will always notice the beggar by the street, always, and he will always do something. Either he gives some money, he buys some food. That's where the Kechara soup kitchen was formed, and he will do things like that, and that's how we can begin. From our own perspective, we begin at home with the people we are with our friends, with our family, with our loved ones. That's how we start. We begin our practice there by helping them, by being of help, because most of the time we are not of help to anybody, not even the people who are closest to us, the people we claim to be people we love or care about. Okay, so we have to start from there. So that's what it means when we take up this responsibility for others. That is the mental attitude, to take up responsibility for others. Begin with the people closest to us. Do something. You don't have to pray every day we do a sadhana. I hope you're doing this, which you wish for, to benefit the whole entire 6 realms of samsara. How do you actualize that? That's how we do it. Okay? So start somewhere. Anywhere is a good way to start, as long as somewhere that's not you, because we have been benefiting ourselves for a long time. All right, so with that, I will do dedication. I think we've pretty much covered. Unfortunately, I wanted to do more, but I got kind of distracted and carried away. And I hope you liked the session and learned something, or at least be inspired by something. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best. All right. Janju Sencho Rinpoche, Mahi Banang Yushi, Kepa Yamai Payang, go and go to Power Show, Tony Tonga Rinpoche, Mahi Banang Yushi, Kepa Yamami Payang, go and go to Power Show, Daso Chinis Abagiwadi, Tanandroa Kunlanka Padang, Jebo Jozo Lozon Drapa, Tamping Purindo Sao, She, Show, Kewa Gundo Yana Lamadan, Dremi Jogi Pala Long Chaching, Sadan Langi on Tenor Chutney, Doji Changi Gopang Yutosho, Gewadi Yuruda, Lama Sangi Juni, Shua Chikan Malupa, De Sala Gopa Show, Chijabo Songaba, Chozonama Beola, Gigi Shamajiwadan, Tuni Maloshan Show, Daran Shengi Dusundan, George Letany, Gawa Losandrabai, Taparinva, Guji, Nimodala Santala, Nemigoyan Dalakshin, Yasuntatu Telepel, Contrason Jingulo, Contrason Godoso, Contrason Tashi Show, Jason Lama Kusuraptan, Namkachi Badan, Losantami Drumusaki, Drumusutatu Negushi, Gangri Rawe, Koi Shingam, Penanda Malukyan, Cherezik one Tanzin Gaso, Shabi City Badu Dan Gushi, Hong Tombingo Drumalupa, Denedala Sodoso, Quadan Temple. Sushi Shukten Cell. Thank you very much. And also, before I forget, this is dedicated to the sponsors. Let me see, who is it? The Dapa Choda. Oh, Choda, thank you very much. Tashi Dele. Or is it Tuchiche? Sorry, Tuchiche. And GL Sim and family, this is dedicated to you guys. All right, to your individual dedications. Thank you very much. Good night.